gamers, welcome back to another middle-aged gaming podcast. I think I might have started that a little bit early, so I apologize. But yes, today we are back with another fun-filled news week, and there's lots going on in gaming, gaming sales, the death of PvE content, so stay tuned for that part of the story. There's lots to talk about. Antoine said 2 minutes. I think we're going to go on for a lot more than that. We're also going to talk about Switch issues as well. Again, another week, but believe me, this story is not going to take a long time. So stay tuned for that. As usual, we're going to start with one of the two guys first. I think let's jump in with Adam's story first, and then we'll go with Antoine's story.
All right. Well, my story's kind of short, not too long. Mortal Kombat 12 has been confirmed, kind of, not exactly. So what happens is basically they came out with a tweet saying, we are not going to confirm Mortal Kombat 12. But of course they spelled it with a confirm with a K. So of course everyone knows that means that yes, they are in fact going to confirm Mortal Kombat 12. And yeah, we basically don't have too much information on it right now. What we do know is that it does seem like it's going to be a reboot of the series, as in a hard reboot. They've kind of soft rebooted the series a couple times. I think Mortal Kombat 10 or 11 did some time travel shenanigans to basically allow them to do kind of a soft reboot. But this looks like it's going to be maybe a hard reboot, possibly going back to the original Mortal Kombat tournament. So basically the first time that it shows up on Earth. So yeah, it seems like it's going to be that. So there's a lot of speculation on which characters will be returning, which characters will not be returning, what they're going to do in terms of, especially because as they've added characters to the roster later, if you go back to the original tournament, some of those characters weren't introduced until later, so theoretically they shouldn't even be there. So there's a lot of speculation around that, but yeah, currently we don't have too much information except that it is supposedly going to release sometime this year in 2023. So
cool. So you're back playing with Scorpion, Sub-Zero, and Goro.
And Liu Kang.
And Liu Kang, of
Raiden.
course, yeah. Well, just watch
And Shang Tsung.
the Mortal Kombat movie, exactly. The
Sonya.
Mortal Kombat movie, and that's exactly.
They got a lot of characters.
Yeah.
What's your guys' experience like with the original Mortal Kombat when we were kids?
Oh, that was very cool. I'll tell you an anecdote. It's when I was young, and of course my little brother was 3 years younger. The babysitter was a student guy that my parents were hiring when they wanted to have date night, and we were 10, 11. My brother must have been maybe 7 or 8, something like this. And because he needed to do some student schoolwork, so that we don't bother him, he just put his own console, Mortal Kombat. You kids play that with fatalities and everything. So I'm like, yay! Of course, my parents didn't know about that. Don't make your kids play Mortal Kombat that young. That's a bit gore. But yeah, good memory of Mortal Kombat on this.
What about you, Adam?
It's freaky. That is my exact experience. It was a babysitter that brought over the game.
Brother from another mother. I knew it.
So, when he said that, I was like, whoa, that's weird, because that is exactly my same experience. Like, the babysitter came over, brought over some games. I remember he brought over Mortal Kombat. There was a Ninja Turtle fighting game that he brought over. Later on, when the PlayStation first came out, he started bringing his PlayStation over. We had a Genesis, so he would bring over his Genesis games, and we would play those. But when the PlayStation came out, he'd bring those over. But yeah, that was the first experience. Although I think we ended up probably playing Mortal Kombat 2 a little more than the original Mortal Kombat, because I guess we just had more time after 2 came out than before 2 came out. But yeah, we definitely. I remember trying to get those fatalities, and we could almost never get them to work. It was just complicated. Back. Yeah, so we usually just ended up punching each other to death. But good times, yeah. And I remember my mom was one of those satanic panic kind of people where, when because back then you didn't have ratings on games, so it would be like, oh my God, so horrible. But she didn't know we were playing.
For me, it was, I think we got it on the PC like a few years later. I mean, even back in those days, right? PC never got things first. But I remember playing this in an arcade with my brother. I think this was probably second fighting game I played after the original Tekken in the arcade back in the day. And I love Tekken, and this was also cool as well. But I think this sort of overshadowed Tekken like later on in life, I guess. But yeah, no, really fun. I think the other part of this news as well is Switch people might have seen this is that Mortal Kombat was supposed to be coming to the Switch. I guess the last iteration of Mortal Kombat, they said, sorry, no, this is not coming to the Switch anymore. And I thought about this in two ways. Is one is like, all right, Switch is too underpowered, which is realistically yes. The other being is like, hey, we know, as Antoine mentioned, if you go back and listen to old episodes, a new version of the Switch is coming out that would have the potential power to play this, right? We've seen the Steam Deck, we've seen the Asus ROG Ally, which have the power to play modern Mortal Kombat at 1080p resolutions, right? So it makes sense that a new Switch could do that. So maybe like, okay, we're not going to bring the old Mortal Kombat, but hey, keep an eye out. Maybe the new Mortal Kombat, aka Mortal Kombat 12, is going to come to the new version of the Switch. And Nintendo being what they are, right? Development kits could already be in the studio's hands right now. So that could be something exciting.
Somehow it doesn't feel right to have Mortal Kombat on the Switch. It doesn't look like the right audience for that kind of game. But I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
You guys are just not portable gamers, man. I'd love to be able to sit in bed and like rip somebody's spine out.
That's not the problem. I love to play Zelda, but that's exactly Nintendo is family games, cute games. You wouldn't see Mortal Kombat with lots of blood and everything, except if they have a bloodless version just for the Switch. But usually Switch is really family, cute game, low resolution, or
that's a misconception, I think. Like it's like this Doom. Maybe. All the Dooms are on the Switch, right? Of course, Wolfenstein.
Fair enough.
Yeah. It's just people don't like look for this stuff. Not that I played it, but I know it's there.
Last GameCube. Again, exactly. Before I got the Switch for my kid, last one I had was the GameCube. So the most violent game was Time Splitter, which was fantastic, by the way.
Nice. Okay, let's move on to Antoine's first story.
Yes, not the PvE one first, MMO one first, and maybe Adam can confirm or something. But there's a lot of ranting about the fact that. FF14 next week, new big update, the Dark Throne. And apparently, before this update, and I don't know if it's just starting now or if it's a couple of weeks already, but the servers are lagging so bad it's unplayable. There's a lot of ranting on this on the internet. I don't know, Adam, did you play FF14 lately?
I did, because I got the warning that I hadn't played in a while and my housing was going to be destroyed. So I logged in to keep the housing.
Did you experience any lag, or was fine?
No, I had no problems when I logged in. Okay. I do feel kind of bad because they were doing the Moogle tomes, and I've always wanted to keep on top of those. But right now, I just got between trying to get Persona 5 out of the way, and then still got Persona 5 Strikers, and then I got Forspoken, and then Final Fantasy 16 is coming out soon. I just have so many things to play. I haven't been able to get back into 14, so I'm probably just going to wait for the patch and then just play through the story once the patch comes out. But no, when I did play, I didn't experience any lag.
Okay, I just saw that on Game Rant apparently in the last few hours.
What do you think that's happening, Antoine?
No idea. Maybe they're implementing or testing the new update before the release, but I don't think FF14. And I'm not talking about the 1.0, of course, which was a catastrophe, but since the reboot of FF14, they never really had any server issue or big troubles in game like this. Maybe a one-off, I don't know, or maybe it's just it's an unverified news. I shouldn't give you news which is unverified because that's not professional, but we are not professional anyway. But no, that's something that, tell us, do you experience any lag on FF14? Because that could be interesting to see if that's a good or bad thing for next week update. Hopefully it's not too bad.
It would be a bad thing.
If the servers crash on release, yeah. Yeah, but they are experiencing really so many big updates before. Why this one will crash more than the other?
Probably has something to do with the data servers, the data centers. I wouldn't think it would be the patch itself that would cause lag.
No, yeah, but data centers. But why would they experience any issue?
That I don't.
I think I was looking up on what the hell is that website that I always forget? Steamshots.com, right? Final Fantasy 14 player count is down 30% since the beginning of the year.
Well, of course, because it has been a long time since the latest release. So
Yeah, it goes about 6 months between patches.
Yeah. So I mean, exactly. Like it's what I think is probably happening is like, hey, we have this dedicated Azure or Amazon Web Services cloud servers that spin up when we have players. Like, okay, now we get to cut down our server costs, and they're spinning down servers. So now it's like, oh my god, people want to play again, and no servers are available.
maybe.
Maybe yes. But yeah, no. Final Fantasy 14 player count is down by a lot. I'm a bit surprised actually.
Next week is gonna go back. You know,
Yeah,
they're
once the
gonna
patch comes
release
out.
exactly. They release a patch. They're gonna release another. 14 days for free to come back to play, and lots of people are gonna come back.
But I mean, like, it's down. The last time it's actually been of a significant high was January 2022.
I mean, World of Warcraft still exists, so
No. I'm not saying it's just, to me, it's just interesting. Like, I always hear, oh my god, Final Fantasy 14 is doing so well. Actually, it's been 15 months since it's actually done really well. On PC, anyway. Again, I wouldn't know anything about PlayStation.
So I think the reason that the player count was high in January of 2022 is because Endwalker, the latest what do you call them, expansion, was released in December 2021. So it would make sense that the big expansion, you got lots of story, you would get a lot of people in, and then since then, about every 6 months they'll get patches, which will add maybe, so that when you get the expansion, you'll get 16, I don't know, quests or whatever. You get 10 levels of content. They add 10 levels. You can go through all that. You can unlock all these new things, and then after that, you're kind of drip fed content throughout until the next expansion, where maybe they add 5 or 6 quests, maybe 1 new dungeon, and then that's all you get for another 6 months. So I mean, in January, that's when the big expansion came out. So it makes sense that that would be the last big kind of resurgence. And then probably when the next expansion comes out, because you're going to get some people that come back for each patch, but probably when the next expansion comes out, you're going to get a lot of people coming in, and then they're going to want to play all the patches between the end of the previous content and the content. So yeah, those numbers will probably not reach that January level until the next expansion comes out.
I'll take a impromptu bet with you guys that Final Fantasy 14's numbers will not ever again reach the average player count of 36,000 people on PC ever again, just because the nature of gaming has changed in the last 15 months.
Oh yeah, I mean, COVID-19, people don't have the time they did.
And not only just that, I think it's just economics. People are not going to spend money on a Final Fantasy 14 subscription anymore.
I think it's going to depend on the expansion, because Final Fantasy recently has been doing where they have one really good expansion and then one not so good expansion. And Shadowbringers was the really good one because they had Heaven's Word, which was really good, and then you had Stormblood, which was kind of and then you had Shadowbringers, which was really good, and then you had Endwalker, which was good, but not Shadowbringers good. And so the next one, I think people are going to be like, "Oop, this is the next good one." So I think we'll. I don't know if it'll go quite as bad because it's not COVID-19 time, but I do think they're going to get a significant shot in the arm.
Heaven's Word was really good though,
and it's free
cool.
now.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to my first story, which is just a warning, a PSA to all you Nintendo Switch players. This is the website is from the French Micromania store, which Antoine just told me. And what is it? I was trying to find like an English version of this story, but there's like no English version. But apparently this is happening in the Philippines, in Argentina, and a bunch of countries. People are setting up scam sites because of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is doing so well. People are like, hey, you can buy a Nintendo Switch for 80 euros, and hey, you can get Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, or you can get Mario, or something like that. And people are putting in their credit card information or doing Western Union transfers to buy like a allegedly cheap Switch. And unfortunately, And that's what Nintendo even put out a press release this week, like, "Hey, we're never ever going to drop the price of the Switch down ever." So if somebody's offering you a cheap Switch, like a ridiculously cheap Switch, it's fraud. It's a scam. Don't do it. Um, Tears of the Kingdom, everyone knows, like Ed and I were talking about this on our Line chat this week. Line, for those of you who don't remember, is the most popular Asian chat app available our side of the world. But yeah, we were talking about this, like tens and fives out of fives. So I know you guys want to play it, right? You might just have to wait until, because the Switch does go on sale, right? And that's where the retailer, again, I can only think of American names like Best Buy or Walmart, takes a hit. Like, yeah, we'll sell you guys a cheap Switch. We'll pay for the extra $50 or $100 out of our pocket, and then we'll hope you guys will buy some other stuff, right? So be careful if you are looking to buy a Switch just because you want Zelda, or you're like, now's the time. Zelda, a second Zelda's out. It did even better than the first one. I'm gonna buy a Switch. Please be careful. You work hard for your money. Don't waste it on some scammer's wallet. That's it. Cool. That's it. Nice, wonderful, short. Let's move on to Adam's second story.
All right, so my second story is GTA 6. We've got new rumors basically to talk about. So what happens is basically somebody came out, I guess it was somebody that was involved with development, or they know people that were involved with development, and they said that they are going to be having a significant water update in the new GTA 6. So basically this is going to get into the physics of the water. It's going to be looking much more realistic. It's going to be much nicer. They're going to be, a lot of people are suspecting that GTA 6 is going to be in Vice City, which is based on Miami. So obviously, beach culture is going to be a huge part of the game. And therefore, they expect there are going to be maybe some new water-based activities, such as surfing, which has not been in the game previously. And apparently, surfing is actually a really difficult thing to program, just because not only do you have to, because imagine Tony Hawk Pro Skater, but now the ground moves, right? So, the ground is dynamic as well. So because of that, it's actually notoriously very difficult to do. But they are creating a new engine. They are upgrading their Rage engine. That's the Rockstar Advanced Game Engine. They're upgrading that to be dealing with water. But it's not only in the ocean, it's also going to be involved in the physics within, just driving and things like that. So GTA 4 had slightly more realistic based driving physics. GTA 5 went a little more arcade with it. It looks like this will be kind of a blend of that because, arcade kind of simplifies things, but they do want to make it that if it's raining and the ground is slippery, then, you're going to be drifting more. So if you're doing a race and it's a clear day versus doing the exact same race on a rainy day, you're going to have a very different experience. You're going to have to get used to the driving conditions. So it looks like they're going to be adding that as well. So yeah, basically a bunch of new water stuff in GTA 6 is what it looks like, is what the rumor says.
What do you think, Antoine?
Well, maybe they saw Saints Row drowning, literally, since we're talking about water. So maybe they thought, maybe that's a good time for us to rekindle the GTA 6 hope, despite the fact that GTA 5 Online is doing very well, thank you. So maybe it's something we'll see in 2, 4, 5, 6 years. I don't know. You hear rumors like this, as long as it's not official in a E3 event or something like this, that's just rumors. So I want to wait for something more concrete. But yeah, of course, GTA has always been seaside cities, so having a good water effect would be a plus, of course. Yeah, nothing much to add on this one.
I think it's really interesting. I mean, as somebody, I remember growing up, we're looking at the advancements in graphics and details in rain. And God, I mean, like I had my first PC I had was like a monochrome PC, and my brother was playing this game called Mark, which was the idea for playing, moving at Mark speed and that sort of stuff. And Rogue, oh God, I played Rogue, the first ever roguelike game in 1986, right? And so that was just like pixels game, and it was, which is, but like gaming has changed so much. So I feel like a lot of the gamers who appreciate this sort of stuff will be middle-aged gamers who'd be like, hey man, I remember when water was just this flat thing that looked like paper on side land. Like that's what water used to look like. um, I don't think this is going to change anybody's decision, but it is going to be like, hey, this is another sort of quality of life addition to gaming. um, I mean, not to mention, like, I don't think this is going to. I'm going to push back on what Antoine said. I think this is going to come sooner because Rockstar has shareholders, and every company is under the gun these days. Again, I'm not going to be all morose and negative, but like, yeah, they have to make money. Releasing GTA 6 in 5 to 6 years is not going to make Rockstar shareholders happy. Like, what else are they going to do, right? Yes, GTA 5 is making money, right? But it's you want to be expanding, you want to be growing your money, and if you're not growing, you're not making money for people who are giving you millions and millions of dollars, right? So I think we're going to get GTA 6 no later than 2025.
Oh, that's a risky bet.
It is going to go bold, man.
Especially with delays.
Yes. All right. And then I guess we're moving on to my second story. So my second story is, guys and ladies and whoever you are, you have been looking for low-cost games for low-cost PCs, right? Maybe you're like me, you have an extra PC in your house, and you're like, okay, I'm sorry, your PC broke, or you did liquid cooling the wrong way and you spilled liquid cooler all over your graphics card, and you're like, oh my god, I really need to game. But yeah, no, Age of Empires 3 Definitive Edition is on sale, but not just that, there's loads of games. If you're on Steam, right, I can't speak to PlayStation or Xbox or Nintendo. I guess Nintendo's, you don't need to worry about that. But let's say on PC, right, low-end PCs, there's actually curated collections on Steam. Age of Empires 3 is on there. There's even not the definitive edition, but even the definitive edition, you can scale down your graphics. But yeah, if you're looking for a good game and you don't have the best PC, or your PC broke and you're using your spare PC, this is a great game. Anyone who's played Age of Empires, lots of replayability, lots of fun to play with people, cross-platform as well if you have people who are playing on other consoles or other PlayStations. I was playing Age of Empires 4. If you remember the podcast just before I left to India, it is still on my PC. I still would like to play it again at some point, but I don't think I will. I was talking about to Adam, like, hey, if you want to play Tears of the Kingdom, you can take my Switch, because I don't see myself playing the Switch anytime soon, at least for the next few months, because as you'll hear about in the third story I talk about today, why I'm not going to be playing the Switch anytime soon. But yeah, if you're looking for low-cost PC games, Age of Empires 3 is a good solution. There's also tons of curated lists by curators. Actually, middle-aged gamers, we should actually start our own on Steam, which is a fantastic idea for us to do at some point as well. But yeah, that's it for me. All right, Adam, your third story for today.
All right.
What about me? You skipped my second one.
What is your second one?
I've been waiting for.
Oh, I'm sorry. So that's my bad.
It's all right. No worries.
I have bad memory.
No worries. I wanted to go with my PvE one, but since you're talking about cheap games, I'm going to go with Greenman Gaming birthday sale, just because it bounced very well on yours. So guys, Greenman Gaming, I talked about it in previous podcast, but they're doing a birthday sale, which is seriously insane. Just go to their website to check it out. Civilization 6, you just talked about Age of Empire. Civilization 6, just a base game, $5 Canadian.
That's cheap.
Definitive edition, so Civ 6 plus Rising Storm plus number 2 and 5 or 6 packs, Civilization pack, $15 for Civilization. That's extremely cheap. Remember that if you take the 3 games at $60 each plus $10 or $15 per pack, that's a massive discount. But you have a lot of things for every taste. Like I saw the Tiny Tina Wonderland is half price. You have, if you like Devil May Cry, it's like $8. Doom is $4. Doom Eternal $11. Five Price 6, which is not too old, $12.60. Resident Evil 4 Remake, which is very new, it's only $10 discount, but they have discount on everything. Metal Gear Solid 5 is $5. You want to back up on having a massive build-up of game to play? Go there. You can get so many games just very, very cheap.
Nice.
So yeah,
I sort of flash across my screen. I want to pick up Warhammer Bolt Gun.
Bolt Gun, yeah, I saw that as well. Isn't it a mobile game? Bolt Gun?
No, I think that is a like a low res or like again another throwback to the time of like Hexen and the original Doom, that style of shooting game.
Okay.
Yeah.
So again, you don't need to play expensive on PC for $60 for a normal game plus tax on any console would be $80, like Tears of the Kingdom. How many games can you buy on this birthday sale for $80? Go ahead. You can have like 10, maybe 15 if you do it well.
Sure.
Done.
Adam, when's PlayStation's next sale?
They have one right now, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I do actually.
Basically, every time they have a sale, as the day the sale ends, the next sale starts.
Oh, cool.
So they basically constantly have sales.
So, Adam, what's the last game you picked up on sale?
Forspoken, I think?
Oh, cool.
Or is either Forspoken or Persona 5 Strikers. One of those two. But yeah, I was kind of like, oh, okay. Because I remember when I got Forspoken, it was like 20% off or 30% off. And then I haven't played it yet. And then on the most recent sale, it's 50% off. And I was like, dang, man. I should have waited. But
Of course.
I didn't expect it to go that much on sale. But yeah, right now they have big games, big deals. Save up to 80%. That is their current sale.
Nice.
At least here in Asia. Sometimes they have different sales in the US versus in Asia. But
the Switch is the same. They have like US sales and European sales, and prices are usually different per region.
yeah, so there's a few games on there that I'd be interested in, but oh yeah, Forspoken currently 50% off. So there's a few games I would be interested in, but at the same time, I'm kind of like, you know what? My backlog's already so deep. Do I really need to be adding stuff to it? Not much. Usually, I'll my kind of policy is if it's 60 to 80% off, then I'll just pick it up. But if it's not, then I'll be like, I'll wait. Pick it up either later on a sale or wait for it to drop in price. So that's kind of how my backlog grows, is I'll just wait for and then when I see a deal like that, I'm like, oh, gotta pick this up now. But yeah.
My policy, as you guys know, is just I wait. If I have like a game that fits every genre that I like to play when I'm in a certain mood, then I pick it up. And like the Switch, I'm actually done with. I have every sort of conceivable game on the Switch, so that's done. On PC as well. Now that I have Game Pass, I don't think I'll ever have to buy a game again. Though I do want to buy. What is that game? Oh God, I forgot. The space game that I'm playing, Everspace 2, at some point, even though I am playing it on Game Pass, but it is like an awesome game that I do try to enjoy when I do have a chance. But yeah, I want to pick that up at some point. Cool. Antoine, apologies for skipping your story.
No, it's okay. I'm kidding.
Adam, what's your third story?
My third story is that the EU has approved of the Activision Microsoft deal. So that is all good. It's kind of interesting, though, because they actually had the exact same issue that the CMA did. However, Microsoft basically came back with a different proposal than they had when they were meeting with the UK regulatory body. And the EU said, okay, these conditions are acceptable. So it's kind of interesting that they had the same problem, but then they approved it because there are different conditions applied this time. Whereas the CMA basically said you can't reapply for 10 years. And because of that, then Microsoft couldn't have come back with these new proposals. So basically, again, the issue is that they were worried about with cloud gaming. As far as Call of Duty or taking their games off other consoles and that sort of thing, they felt that it probably wouldn't have been a wise move by Microsoft because they'd be losing a lot of money. So that wasn't a big issue. Plus, in the EU, PlayStation outsells Xbox 4-1. So, that would be a huge... That would hurt Microsoft rather than help them to do that. However, they did feel that Microsoft would have too much power in the cloud gaming space, given their already kind of dominance in this bourgeois, I don't know, in this growing industry,
right.
burgeoning industry. So Microsoft said, okay, here's the deal. What we're going to do is we are going to offer all current and future Activision Blizzard games license free for the next 10 years. Any cloud gaming service can put these games on the service and pay zero licensing fees. So people still do need to buy the game. So you would still need to buy the game from Steam or on the Xbox Store or wherever. So you would still need to buy the game from Microsoft. But these, like Nvidia doesn't have to pay a licensing fee to be able to put their games on their service. So they don't have to pay those. And then of course the consumer doesn't have to pay any sort of licensing fees for that either. So basically, if you are somebody like Nvidia and you say, I want to put Call of Duty on my cloud gaming platform that I'm trying to develop, you can do that, and it's completely free and at no cost to yourself. And because Microsoft agreed to that, EU said, okay, those are acceptable terms for competitors to possibly be able to grow if they're not having to pay you to get into this. So EU has approved of it, and yeah, now it's just down to basically, I think there's a few more countries. I think there's 2 more that I think South Korea is one, and I'm not sure who the other one was, but they haven't made any sort of decisions yet. But then, so basically, it looks like the only problem areas are going to be the US with the FTC and the UK with the CMA. So it looks like they're going to be the only ones stuck there. Oh no.
Is that your network or Antoine's network?
I don't know.
What network? What is an issue?
Wait, if you're seeing it, it can't be me.
So I don't know. It might be me. Who knows? I don't know.
I saw it too. It said that his camera was suspended.
Oh, so it must be his network.
Who? Mine?
Yes.
Yeah, it said
For
something, about
some
bandwidth
reason-
that your camera was suspended. You still had audio,
Yes.
but your camera was suspended.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh well, you're not gonna miss much. Not seeing my face. It's fine.
It's fine now.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, no, you're back. It was just kind of weird for a second, but I was having
Strange.
issues yesterday when we were doing video with our New York office. So I think it's like a cable issue, undersea cable issue. That is.
Yeah. So on that front, I heard that it was only US, UK, and EU to approve this deal. That EU was fine, but UK was not, and US was on the fence. So EU is not really taking any risks, saying yes, it's okay for us because the neighbor already said no. So
I heard the same as Adam. Like basically, the only holdout at the moment is the UK. I mean, everyone who lives in Asia knows South Korea, Taiwan, Japan. We're pro conglomerates and monopolies and stuff. That's why you have Mitsubishi and you have HTC and you have TSMC as well. These massive billion-dollar companies, right? Because that's the way it works here. But yeah, no, I don't think if South Korea hasn't approved, I'm sure they will approve because
They're
at the end
expected
of the,
to.
yeah, exactly. Is South Korea is the home of Hyundai and Samsung, which makes tanks, refrigerators, and everything in between because they are the mother of all companies in South Korea, which people don't realize. I remember when I was in South Korea and I was like, I went to a Samsung store, like, by the way, we also make tanks and machine guns and other stuff. I'm like, ooh, cool. Didn't know that.
They made tanks.
Yeah, Samsung makes tanks for South Korea. The South Korea has a special mobile tank. I don't know what the hell the name is, but yeah. Cool. I mean, I'm still very pro this deal. I can't wait for it to happen. I think this funny, Adam mentioned streaming. I think because NVIDIA last quarter results were actually really bad. So I think because one of the big things is that their streaming business is not doing that good, but their AI business, of course, because they make the tensor cores, which are in everybody's GPUs, which do the AI stuff on your current computer. So their AI business is booming a lot because they provide all the AI stuff for OpenAI, which is ChatGPT-4. So I have a feeling NVIDIA GeForce Now will shut down and it'll just be Microsoft in the future, which of course will be bad. But yeah, no, it's interesting. Microsoft might get approved, and then later on, as Adam always reminds him, you might regret it down the road. Um, so we'll see what happens.
I'm fine with it as long as I don't lose access to my games. Like, for example, if Elder Scrolls 6 and, was it, Starfield is a new IP, like I said. If that goes exclusive to Xbox, I'm fine. But if Elder Scrolls 6, goes exclusive, that's for me the issue, is losing access to franchises that you once had access to. That's my only concern. If all, if Doom and Elder Scrolls and all those were available everywhere that they were available before, I'm 100% for it.
Nice. And now let's go on today's hot topic, which is the basis of the title. And Antoine's going to fill us in on that.
Absolutely. So let's talk about Overwatch. I've never played it, but like all of you, I'm sure everybody knows Overwatch. Overwatch is how could I describe it? Like imagine Fortnite, but with an RPG party. So you have your tank in the front, you have your healer in the back, and you have your DPS in the middle. That's you and your multiplayer friends, and you fight against other players. And it was entirely multiplayer, Overwatch 1. Number 2 was supposed to add something to it, because since it went out, a lot of players, a lot of friends actually told me, yeah, why Overwatch 2? No, why not just Overwatch 1, but season XYZ? Because Overwatch 2 at BlizzCon 2019 was supposed to add a PvE component, PvE hero. So that's you don't have any friends, that's fine. It's perfectly fine. Or you just like to play PvE content. Warcraft did it, you could play PvE or PvP during Altered Valley. That's fine. In PvE, you gather your party and you play a PvE content, like a brand new narrative, and you unlock new skill tree and competence and stuff like this. And no, so I don't know who make Overwatch. Completely forgot about it.
Blizzard.
Blizzard. Oh yeah, okay, BlizzCon, of course. So Aaron Keller just came and say, no, it was a tough decision, but in the end, we are not going to do this. So the main feature, which was supposed to be Overwatch 2, is basically not coming back. And instead, they put on their website a new roadmap for season 5, 6, and 7. So we have the link to the roadmap. It's just that I can't really detail it for you, simply because I don't know the game that much, so I wouldn't be able to detail exactly. I just know that there's new hero and new things like this coming up. So just go to the Blizzard website, and you will see the roadmap for yourself if you're interested. But if you had any hope of playing PvE on Overwatch, it's completely dead. So that's one feature which is not gonna come out. I don't know what you guys think about it, but that's something that I could have actually, pick up just for the PvE, because I'm not a multiplayer person. This is just a game I'm never gonna get. And
Adam, why don't you go first? I have a lot to say on this.
Yeah, no, I would be very disappointed. When this came out, the other game that was kind of hyped up at the same time was Battleborn. And I played the Battleborn demo, and then I played the Overwatch demo, and I very much preferred Battleborn over Overwatch. And Battleborn there were two things different about it. One, it had campaign mode. So you could play single player, or, you could play with your friends, and you could basically go through missions, and it kind of was like a more guided version of Borderlands, right? Borderlands is more open-ended, but this was more like a mission-based kind of thing with Borderlands. And you would go through and you would upgrade your character as you go through the level. You would level them up. You would, unlock new abilities. You had tech trees that you could select as you went through. So it did that, and then it also had kind of a first-person version of League of Legends, where basically you started on one side, the enemy was on the other side. You had to destroy whatever their nexus was or whatever. And, they would drop out little mobs that would come out, and you would kill those guys, level up your abilities. So it had PvE mode, but it was more in line with League of Legends. And for me, between those two modes, I preferred that game way more. And so when Battleborn basically they said, okay, you know, nobody's buying it. It's, you know, Overwatch is just decimating this game. We're just gonna, you know, first they went free to play, and then they said we're just gonna close down the servers, and the game's just gonna be gone forever. I was very disappointed. So I did not know that Overwatch was doing a PvE mode, but the fact that they were going to do that, which seemed to be more of the focus of Battleborn in the first place, would have been exciting to me. And the fact that they're scrapping it is just kind of like, ah, man. So basically, that experience just doesn't exist anywhere. So.
Yeah, no, I mean, I saw this story. I found it not surprising. Overwatch 2 was like super hyped when it was coming out. Like all these Overwatch people, like, oh yeah, awesome, finally. And Antoine mentioned, you know, the very great summary of, yeah, this should have just been Overwatch 1.5 or Overwatch 1 Season X, right? Nothing that fantastic about it. Speaking of PvE as well, like we go back to the original, like OG multiplayer shooter of Team Fortress 2, right? Valve did Battle of the Bots, right? PvE content for Team Fortress. And like for those, you know, like hardcore Team Fortress players, they're like, yeah, you know, PvE is good, but we actually like PvP. So I mean, in that sense, I think maybe, but I think for me, this what I was telling Antoine is like this speaks to like an overarching narrative of studios trimming down aspects of their games that um, they feel are not going to make money or is not going to bring people in, or they feel like, hey, our core audience is not middle-aged gamers who do tend to sort of play less and less multiplayer as they get older, who have less and less time for multiplayer because as you guys hear me complain about all the time, right? Why would I go play Battlefield 5 for an hour and spend time logging in, spend time dying, spend time like, okay, my hour is gone. I managed to get 2 kills, and now that is not very satisfying when I could play Forspoken or other games where, you know, I can kill stuff really easily, can get a really good feeling of satisfaction. And I think Overwatch 2 is not going to be the first or the last game. That they're not the first, but we're basically going to announce like, hey, we have this grand vision for this game, but the economic realities, the player realities have changed the way that we're looking at the future. And to me, it's not surprising. I think like there are loads of games that have like a PvE component. There's a game now that they put a bunch of money into advertising, Albion Online, which was like third-person MMO RPG, right? Action, farming, do that sort of stuff. But when it was first coming out, they had this big PvE component. I'm like, oh man, this is awesome. I'm gonna play it. And no, you know, the PvE stuff has sort of like gone away, and like the game used to have save zones, and now it's just like everywhere you go in the game, like people can just kill you and take your stuff. I'm like, where the hell is the fun in that? So I think it's kind of sad for Overwatch. I mean, like same as Antoine, like if this had a PvE mode, I mean, this would have been like get on sale for me to play with like other people. Like, hey, let's fight some bots together. Let's level up. Let's get some new gear. Let's choose some skills. I mean, this is a beautiful game. I mean, like Blizzard does good animations. Like Adam, Antoine would know, right? Being World of Warcraft people, like Blizzard's cinematics are world famous. Character design, animation, and it's all awesome. So it's unfortunate, but I think that's just the way things are going to go. That leaves more space for indies to do like really cool things, to make like a Underwatch 2 or something like that. I can think of a better name. But yeah, someone to make something similar and say, hey, there are people who do want to play PvE games in the Overwatch style. We can make it for half the cost with a smaller team, with AI now that can do a whole bunch of stuff that we don't need 100, 200 person team. We just need 10 people and an AI to do some of the stuff for us.
I will say this is one of the funny things that I've experienced. I mean, you know, I'm 39. I'm not that old, but you know, sometimes you know, where people will be like, "Oh, do you guys realize that this song released 20 years ago, or this movie was released, you know, 30 years ago? Do you feel old now?" And strangely enough, none of those things ever make me feel old. You know, I don't feel old at all. But sometimes when it comes to gaming, I do feel a little bit old, just because the kind of games that I've always enjoyed and the kind of games that I've always liked playing are falling out of fashion, and I'm like, it's getting harder and harder to find games that appeal to me, because yeah, the games are evolving, and yeah, they're going for those new markets, and they're going where the dollars go, and It's yeah, it's getting harder. I always see online with the console wars, and people always bring up like, oh, PlayStation always has these one-off games that you play and you're done. Why? Who would want to play a game once and then be done with it? Who wants to play, buy a game for 40 hours of content and then you put it away? And I'm sitting there like, that's exactly what I want. I want to play a game like Ghost of Tsushima and love it and have so much fun and then move on and play a different game and then have a new experience, and that's what I want. But the current trend now is things like Apex, where you can just stay in this one game for years, or Fortnite, where you find a game that appeals to you and you just stick in that one game and just play that one game forever and ever and ever, and it just continuously updates. And that's the new meta, that's the new trend. And when I see that, that's when I feel old.
For my son, it's Rocket League.
Here you go.
Nice. All right, Antoine, do you have another story?
Not really. Oh, it's a one-liner. Just because I was supposed to play with Phil this weekend on Diablo, just too much work, so I couldn't do that. But there was a beta this weekend for Diablo where they were supposed to fix the problems they found out at the closed beta and open beta they did in March. And apparently it went very well. So they are very confident that they can release a game less than a month from now. And apparently everything went fine. I wish I could have tell you firsthand, yes, it was fantastic. I didn't get many bugs in March, so I was already happy with the game. But apparently, the guys at Blizzard were like, no, we fixed whatever we needed to fix. Now it's coming out in 3 weeks, not even a month, I think, right? It's early June, it's released. So they are battle ready to launch Diablo 4, and it's gonna be a banger if you have time to play.
Are you going to take up some time for work, Anton, and play Diablo?
Unlikely, because that's my end of the fiscal year, June, July. So I'm gonna play in August, I think, because June, July, I don't think I'll have any time. Okay. Just to tell you, I went back to Skyrim. I just updated the all mods I had and spent a couple of hours I have doing some caves, killing some bandits, because it's really relaxing, because I don't have time to get into any big stories for 40 hours.
No worries. I mean, going on the back of your Diablo story, I saw a guy soloed one of the world bosses, and again, Antoine would know more about that. Adam might have seen this story as well, because it was making the rounds like earlier this week. Like, apparently he soloed a boss by himself. And it took him, I guess, a long time. I guess he tried twice. But yeah, no, and he basically, the director of Diablo 4 was like, hey, good job. And this means we need to make this world boss harder and do some updates, I guess.
Was it Diablo? I heard the same kind of story on Genshin Impact. A guy who dealt millions of damage.
It was Diablo, because the graphic did say Diablo. So maybe, I mean, that's two games, right? So that's cool, right? Like I mean, that gives me hope. Like I want to solo stuff, because I just, like, Adam plays in the morning, right? I can play in the morning because I work in the morning to match our New York office. I play games in the afternoon when Adam's usually out, and in the afternoon Antoine is sleeping because we like 3 a.m. in the morning Canadian time. And then I work in the evening when Adam is usually free, or some of my other friends are free, and yeah, so it's like I don't have time to play with anybody. So it's unfortunate, but yeah, no. So I need more solo games that you can solo rather than games that force you to play with people.
We would love to have a Valheim server just for middle-aged gamer, but at this time, it doesn't seem very possible.
Speaking of Valheim, which is my last story, and
really?
Antoine's question, we do have a Valheim server. I have a Valheim server.
You do?
Yes.
I want to play in there, then.
Xbox gamers, you finally got access to Valheim, and I've been playing this more aggressively. Like, to give you some sort of backstory, is my brothers and I've been playing Valheim once every Sunday for a while, but it's just, we used to play it like an hour and a half, I think maybe 2 hours or so. We just finally decided, hey, let's get a server. And I want to say a big thanks to the guys at GameHo.io, which is a very weird name. Don't read too much into it. They do one of the most affordable server mechanics ever. Basically, you pay for your server every time you play, basically for playtime, right? So if anybody, I used to run an Unreal tournament server back when I used to live in Massachusetts back in the day. I used to pay $20 a month. My brothers and I have, I think, calculated this out for, even if we play 100 hours, it's only going to cost $4 right? That's it per month for a Valheim server, right?
Nice.
Yeah, and it's cool because the server is not continuously running. So basically, when I want to play, and I'm planning to play today, I had no time. Work was crazy yesterday. We launched a new magazine. I will hit the button start server. It like spins up the server, like going back to what we were talking about Final Fantasy 14, right? It loads the resources. It checks for an update. That usually takes about 5 minutes, and then the server starts, and I get to play. And when I leave the game, the server shuts down. It kills the server resources, and I think that's like a really good way to do a server, and probably what most games do for servers. But yeah, because we don't have a lot of time, today I wanted to give you guys 3 tips for Xbox gamers out there. So did you know in Valheim that food matters a lot? Like, you might think, oh my God, if I don't eat food, I'm gonna die. You cannot eat food in Valheim and you'll be fine. You won't die because you're a Viking warrior who is like an immortal or something like that. But you need food for stamina. You need food for health, and especially in the zone where I am in Valheim, you need food to be able to fight these like Draugr, and you would know Antoine from Skyrim as well. They're Draugr in Valheim because Valheim is like a Nordic themed game, and these guys are hard to kill. Like, I've died 67 times in Valheim so far. Not good, right? So yes, number 1 is think about your food, plan around that. Number 2 is in Valheim is the cool thing like Skyrim. Skyrim was the first game that did that for me, which is as you use a skill, it upgrades it. So if you want to become really, really good at shooting arrows or fighting with swords or fighting with axes, you just have to use that thing, right? So if you want to be the guy who is the like Legolas archer from Lord of the Rings, right, you have to like go crazy on your bow skills, right? My 3rd tip for today would be, yeah, you really need to be careful of nighttime and daytime in Valheim, because in Valheim in nighttime, the game was like, hey, these are the enemies that spawn during the day times 6, and then in crazy amount of enemies at night, and you just most likely die at night. So if you're playing Valheim at night, don't bother. If you want to do it, go ahead, but you find it really, really, really difficult. It's better to, when it hits night, sleep. And when you sleep, it like in the game you sleep, it says Z, 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 and you wake up the next day in the morning, you get to do stuff. So 3 tips. I'm still playing. I'm actually playing a lot more Valheim now, just because we have the server and it's much easier, and it's centrally located between Taiwan, South Africa, and England. My lag is much better. I used to play Valheim. And again, if you have, like Antoine's brother is in France, he's in Canada, a huge gap between them. This actually reduces the lag. I used to play Valheim with 287 millisecond lag, right? And it works. And it was actually fine and playable, but now with the server, it's actually much better. So something to consider. Cool. We have about 2 minutes left on today's podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you have any stories that you want us to talk about, please send them on Twitter. Adam's on Twitter all the time. I'm on Twitter all the time too, not replying as much. Antoine is on Twitter as well these days, so you can have a chat with him.
Trying.
He is trying, and he's doing a good job. He's replying a lot more, and I appreciate that. Let us know. Check out our Facebook Reels. Check out our YouTube Shorts. Check out some of the older videos. We have some cool playlists. Antoine deserves credit for that. He did a lot of stuff when it comes to the playlists. We actually need to sort out those more. We now have a channel trailer, so please check that out. I set that up yesterday. Tell us if we should have a better video. If you're like, hey, this is a better video that represents middle-aged gaming, let us know. I actually need to find Adam's intro and put that on there. I think I might need to remove the music since that is a copyright issue. So yeah, let us know what you think. We've done a bunch of improvements. We've got a bunch more stuff coming up later on in the year. Enjoy your week, and we'll talk to you guys same time next week.
Catch you guys later.
Have a good evening.